I'm back today with part 2 of my summer horror film recommendations. Same as the last video, I have 6 films to talk about, and as always, if you have any favourites that aren't on this list, then please do let me know in the comments, because especially underrated ones, I would love to add them to my watch list and check them out. Starting with an underrated banger in my opinion, and that is the film Influencer. Social media influencer Madison is having a hard time with things in her personal life, but she soldiers on and hides her pain behind a smiley front. She goes on a solo backpacking trip in Thailand, but soon meets a new friend, CW. They end up hitting it off from the get-go, and CW shows Madison around. They go on a day trip, but it ends up being one that Madison will never forget. There are some really beautiful nature shots. It's set on vacation, so it's absolutely perfect to watch in summer. I personally really love horror films about social media. Obviously, as somebody who uses social media, it makes it feel very relevant and modern, and really gets you thinking if you could also get yourself into one of these situations. With everyone so obsessed with social media and also obsessed with other people on social media, it delves into deeper themes of Instagram versus reality, where Madison is clearly not happy in her life, but she's pretending on her social media that she has this wonderful life and is doing great, which I feel like is so relevant to the real world. Social media is a highlight reel for so many people. We don't really get to see people's bad days. We just get to see them like on vacation or having a lovely meal or having a lovely night out. We never get to see these bad times, which obviously causes us to compare ourselves to others. So it's quite interesting that they have implemented this topic. You can watch this film on Shudder. Next is probably maybe the most disturbing one I'm going to recommend in my summer recommendations, and that is the film Revenge. Jen goes for a trip away with her boyfriend, who is actually a married man. The romantic getaway soon becomes interrupted when some of his friends turn up. Tension rises and the situation escalates very quickly, resulting in Jen getting assaulted. She makes her escape and comes back for revenge. As I said in the plot overview, Jen does get assaulted in a really horrific way. This is only a short scene. I don't usually like to watch R-word revenge films, but this one is a little bit different. It is directed by a woman, which is a massive difference from a lot of popular revenge films in horror. The assault scene is obviously still really hard to watch, but it is only a few minutes compared to some other films when they are honestly like half of the film or even longer. This one is only a few minutes, so it is very easy to skip if you wanted to. It's a film that feels very empowering, following a character that had her power taken away from her, and now watching her reclaim that power and overpowering those who once made her feel so useless and so disposable. The stylization in this film is one of my favorite things. I love the bright, bold, vibrant colors, the really cool lighting, and mix of scenic nature shots and super brutal, gory shots. Jen, the main character, has some absolutely iconic outfits. She wears these really big star bright pink earrings that we get to see in the poster, and we get to see her wear them in the film. Even when she is like all covered in dirt and all roughed up, she's still wearing these bright pink earrings, and it's a really cool contrast. It's not shy on the gore, which is a massive bonus for people who love gore like me. Revenge is available to stream on Shudder. Next is a little bit of an emotional one, and that is Bones and All. An outcast girl who is different from others and made some poor choices is now on the run, which is something that she's done for most of her life. She struggles deeply to fit in with others, but longs for companionship. She meets a few different people on her travels, but one guy in particular she really hits it off with and realizes that they have a lot in common. This was not intentional to put 2 disturbing films back to back on this list. It really depends on what you find disturbing, but this is also a disturbing pick. For me personally, not as disturbing as Revenge, but maybe look up trigger warnings, because this one is quite a heavy hitter. It's very gritty and gets under your skin. One character in particular is literally disgusting. It gives me goosebumps when he comes on the screen and just makes me feel sick and weirded out. Seeing this in the cinema was definitely one of my top 10 cinema experiences, and I really wasn't expecting much from it. I didn't really know what to expect going in. I don't even think I watched the trailer. It is also based off of a book of the same name. I absolutely love it. It's such a roller coaster of emotions on this journey, where we see some insanely brutal and disgusting moments moments. Then we see some truly heartbreaking scenes, but broken up by bursts of joy with a whirlwind romance. The opening scene is unforgettable. It just gives us a hint of how brutal this film is going to be. I've never seen gore done in such a strangely beautiful way in some parts of this film. For the most part, it's not something that's done in a crazily shocking way. It's more like inevitable brutality. Bones and All is available to rent on Apple TV or Google Play Movies. After those heavy and disturbing films, it's time to talk about a horror comedy, so let's talk about Cocaine Bear. A plane controlled by criminals ends up crashing in a forest and their shipment of drugs goes everywhere. A black bear in its natural habitat comes across this and ends up ingesting quite a lot of it, resulting in him going on a violent rampage. I actually unironically love this film. It sounds absolutely bonkers, and it is absolutely bonkers, but it's done really well. It's silly and it's goofy, but in the best way possible. Comparing it to something that is also a bonkers animal attack film like Sharknado, where that has a smaller budget and is a B movie and very aware of itself to be just absolutely stupid, this just doesn't fit into that category, although I feel like on first glance people would just assume it would be. This has a much bigger budget, it has a really good script and some genuinely funny moments, and not just funny because it's stupid, although there are a few of those. There's some absolutely brutal gore, it definitely doesn't pan away. We get to see some really gnarly scenes. Set in the 80s, it truly does feel like it. I love the wardrobe design, it's one of my favourite things. Everyone's outfits just look so cool and just fits in with the time era so well. Animal attack films aren't always my favourite, but mixed with the comedy and the 80s aesthetic, this is just the perfect comfort watch for me. The most crazy thing about this is that it is based off of a true story. Obviously not exactly true, they have definitely taken the story and ran with it, so let's just say loosely based. You can rent Cocaine Bear on Apple TV and Google Play Movies. Next is quite a popular one actually, but I had to include it in this list, and that is Midsommar. Dani is dealing with the tremendous loss of her family after a really tragic incident. She doesn't want to be alone, so she decides to tag along to Sweden to stay with a small community during their Midsummer festival with her boyfriend and his friends whilst they do some research for their college thesis. When they arrive, everyone is super friendly and welcoming, but as time goes on, they start to feel a little bit apprehensive about some of their traditions. I just couldn't do summer horror recommendations without including Midsommar, one of the most insane horror films set mainly in broad daylight, which is such a big contrast to a lot of horror films which are very dark, and whenever there's something scary or gory going on, it's usually in quite dark scenes so we can't see too much, which means the effects don't have to look super realistic. But in a case like this where it's set in broad daylight and we see everything, they do have to make the gore look realistic, and that is exactly what they do. It looks very realistic and it is very disturbing at times. Although it's more of a psychological thriller based around a breakup waiting to happen and about the main character Dani finding herself and finally being free of this toxic relationship that she has. Within all of that, we do have a few gory scenes, and the few gory scenes that we do have are really quite extreme. If you've seen this film, then there probably are a few scenes that definitely stick out in your head and are very memorable. The director Ari Aster definitely knows how to shock his audience. He has a certain style, especially with his gore. If you're watching a horror film by him, then you probably should expect some head trauma, which is up there with some of the cringiest and hard to watch type of injuries. In contrast to this gore and dark themes, Midsommar is very bright and colourful. It's full of lots of nature and colours. It also does have some things that are contrasting, like a big yellow triangular building that kind of just looks a bit bizarre, popped right in the middle of this beautiful Swedish community. So with it being there, we just know that it is going to be crucial to this story. You can rent Midsommar on Prime Video, Apple TV and Google Play Movies. So lastly, I'm going to include a film that came out this year because I just felt like it fits so perfectly in this list, and that film is Sinners. I have actually done a whole review on this film, so if you want to watch me talk about this film in more detail, then I will leave a link in the description and also on the screen now. now. So for just a brief overview, in Sinners we follow twin brothers Smoke and Stack as they spread the word around town and also try to hire people for the opening night of their new blues joint. When the night comes, the party is going really well. Everybody is enjoying themselves until a group of unknown strangers turn up at the door with a sinister motive. The visuals are oozing with orangey tones, which we get from a range of different light sources, including the sun, which is why I think this is so perfect to watch in the summer. Even when the sun goes down, we still get to see this really warm orange lighting with different lights in the venue and with fire. This film does have a genuinely really warm feeling to it. The feeling of community within the characters, the really strong relationships, and the passion, especially the passion with music. This isn't your standard surface level horror film. It's a film with dimension and many layers. There is a mid-credit scene and it is quite a long one, and for me it is actually one of my favourite scenes in the film, so definitely make sure you don't forget to watch that. As well as getting Easter eggs throughout the story, we also get some clear messages that's told to us through this incredible storytelling. If you haven't seen this film, then definitely go in knowing as little as possible. Sinners is available to rent on Prime Video, Apple TV and Google Play Movies. So that is it for today's video. That wraps up my part 2 of my summer horror film recommendations. As I said at the start, please leave your recommendations in the comments. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you again in another one soon.